Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I, yeah, I haven't I I haven't been paying much attention with what's going on in the world either. Well, actually, maybe we should just welcome to UBI, right? This is episode 11. Is
Episode
this episode
11.
11?
This is episode 11.
This is kind of
Yeah.
weird, man. I can't believe we had this many episodes.
I don't think we've been public in for over a month. I think we went public October 26th, I think was the day. We had recorded before that, but we didn't tell anybody on social media until I think October 26th. So we blasted out 11 episodes in less than a month. Um,
Yeah,
so, but it's been
not bad.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, a lot of times we would just have longer conversations and we might break them up into multiple parts, but yeah, 10 episodes, over 200 downloads. So that's cool.
200 downloads, whatever that means. Like,
I still don't know what that means. It could just be me listening
it,
to the podcast 200
it,
times. I don't know.
it probably, I would say, probably, at the very least, it probably means that it's been listened to at least 200 times
Yeah.
in some way or fashion. So, but whoever is listening to it, I'm glad they are. Um, it's been fun doing this, and yeah. So, what do you want to talk about today?
Well, we were just talking about how and it sounds like you might not have been paying much attention to what's going on. I feel like when Biden won, I was just happy that he won, and it kind of took off this weird stress that was on me, and I slept well like the night that he was confirmed, and so I don't know. I haven't been paying much attention to the news. I'm just like, all right, been
So,
busy with work.
so I'm going to ask you a question, right? I've always thought about this. I don't know why I thought about this question. I don't remember why. It may have been, so I have a unique last name, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think there was a time when someone added me on Facebook that had the same last name as I did. And it just popped, this question just popped in my head, and I was like, so, and this must have been when I was maybe 28, let's say 27, 28, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a she added me on Facebook, and 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 I just thought, like, what if this is like a sibling, like my dad's child?
Your dad was a player. You had no
Yeah,
idea. It's a whole nother
that I had no
family.
idea. Like, so, and then I just went through this rabbit hole of, like, what would I do? Like, would I even care? And so I'm going to ask you that question. If you found out today that there is there is a there is some child, you know, your name is Manny, right? And this guy's name is Manicero, like he's from Cuba.
My dad went down to Cuba for a little bit.
you know, during one of his missions to
Yeah, his medical missions. Yeah, that would be hilarious. What if he was? Yeah. Oh man, it's just like a Cuban version of me with just a mustache, still bald, but like a
Still ball,
mustache.
like
Would I
so
care?
yeah, like, there's this guy, or or her, or maybe a she. Her name is Emanuela. Emanuela.
Manuela.
So yeah,
Huh.
you found out today. She added
That I
you
have
on
I
Facebook.
have a long lost sister.
She's like, yo,
Um,
I'm your sister.
I
Like,
have 5 sisters, so I'm
okay, let's say
like,
brother.
okay, yeah, a brother would be more interesting for sure. But I will say, people will be like, oh man, I bet you always wanted a brother, and honestly, no. Like, I think when I was very very young, I wanted a brother. like I remember when my last sister was born, Summer, and I was hoping, because my mom didn't find out if it was a boy or girl until she gave birth, and I was really really hoping for a boy, because I had all these plans. I was going to teach him karate, not that I knew it, but I was just going to go off of what I saw on TV. I was going to teach him karate, all this stuff. And then I remember we were with my grandparents, and my mom and dad were at the hospital, and my grandma picked up the phone and she was like, oh wow, a lovely baby girl. I just remember crying. I was just so upset and so angry until I saw the baby. And then once I saw Summer, I was like, I was in love, and I was so excited, but I was pretty upset. That's the only time I cared. But then growing up, I was happy to be the only boy. I feel like I got spoiled because I was the only boy. I feel like it just, I don't know. I have friends who have brothers, and they're like, yeah, my brother beat the shit out of me. I'm like, that sounds awful. So I don't know. But it says you're frozen, Lie. I don't know if you can hear me, or if let's see, it froze real quick. Can you? Let's see. All right, I guess I'm on the show now by myself, and I can continue talking. Lai was having some technical difficulties, but we'll just keep going. Would I care if I had a long lost brother? I'd probably want to get to know him a little bit.
I missed a lot of what you said.
Okay. I just said, hey, Lai's gone, but I'm going to answer the question anyway. I was like, would I care if I had a long lost brother? So I gave a whole story about when I cried when I found out that Summer was a girl for the first time, and she knows the story. And then when I actually saw Summer in person, I was in love and really happy, and I completely forgot about wanting a brother. But basically, I was just saying I never was one of those people who was like, oh man, I always wanted a brother. I was happy with sisters. I hear stories from people who had a bunch of brothers, and are like, yeah, my brother would, beat the shit out of me, or like spit in my mouth and fart on me. And I'm like, yeah, no, that sounds awful. I'm good. I'm good. None of that sounds interesting to me at all. I'm really happy I don't have a brother. But if I was an older person and found out I had a long lost brother, I would definitely be curious to just meet him, because I have two older sisters who are from my dad's first marriage, and we didn't grow up with them in the same house. But when we kind of connected as adults, we had so many similarities, and it was so cool to see that, like, I guess genetics, because obviously it wasn't nurture, but it had to be nature. Like, for instance, like, my oldest sister is a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. My second oldest sister is a speech and language pathologist. My Meredith, my sister who's younger than I am, she's a speech and language pathologist. But then, like, even more than just like superficially that, I felt like Geneva would make a joke that like my oldest sister and I were like the same person. Like, there's something about just like our personalities, and like we just had a lot in common. So I thought that was really cool. So I would really be curious to see if I had like a brother who I'd never met before, and see what kind of if we had similar personalities. Maybe he's a lawyer and comedian in Cuba. I don't know. He might be doing the same thing.
Oh my God. It would have been funny. Like, you have a brother in Havana or Santiago.
I don't know. I mean, that, if I did, I'm sure my dad would not want me to find out. Depending
I guess at this point, like, do you think so?
Well, how old? It depends on how old he is. If he's my age, exactly.
Yeah, I'm talking about he's like.
If he's older, then yeah, I mean it's fine. If he's like, if he's like your age, then that's fine. I don't think that there's no overlap. So,
like, no one's gonna bring out a calculator.
Yeah. But if he's 31, there's gonna be some. He does not want that to get out. So.
Oh my God! Like, yeah. Bringing out a calculator. Wait a minute.
You were born in 1980. What? Wait, hold on.
Wait.
Yeah, wait.
Frank Logan Brown. My question is gonna be: It's gonna be like, what? It's been like 30 years. What you mad?
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
Look, I made mistakes. It was like 30 years ago. You know,
like,
I guess at that point it was
like
so
I just
long.
found out too.
I didn't know it was going to happen like that. I swear. I didn't think I'd ever get caught, but I don't know. So, but yeah, if I found out I had a brother, that would be interesting. But I am a little more interested. It's interesting you should bring this up because I do want to do a like a DNA test, even though I don't know how real those things are. I kind of want to do one because my sister did a test. Aaron did a test, and I think I was at your house when this happened. When I found out, because she was saying when she did the test, we were like 40% Nigerian, and I was really excited. I was like, oh shit, because I mean, and then immediately I had this like pride in Nigeria, and I was like, yeah, I was like, I wanted to buy a soccer jersey. I really did at that moment. I really wanted a Nigerian jersey. Yeah, the green and oh man, it looks nice. So I would want to take one and see, you know, where I'm from because it's
Now, what if you took one and your black ass is not 40% Nigerian?
Then I'd throw that shit out and say the whole industry is fake, and I'd be upset because it's already in my head. It's in my head.
So you blame. Are you gonna ask your mom? I mean, like, ma.
Like, oh man,
like,
Aaron
is 40% Nigerian, 30% whatever.
Yeah, how am I?
But this is
this says how am I Thai?
How am I 19%?
Why is Thai in there? Thai.
Why am I 25% Cuban? like mom,
yeah, well, maybe she went down to Cuba.
Like,
yeah. You know, that would not be good. The only reason that can't the only reason that can't happen, we look too much alike. Like our siblings, we look like our parents. Like I look like my dad a lot, and obviously I came from my mom. So, you know, and then Aaron, yeah, I think the way it's been described to me is that we all look very similar, like the children, even though we look almost more like each other than we do like our parents. Like whatever that mix is, we all have whatever that is. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure we're related. No one looks like they're not. You know what I mean? Like no one's like. Iffy.
I don't think that matters though. Like I don't think the physical look matters as much. Like
how?
You know what I mean? Like what I mean is it's possible that, you know, like I've seen siblings before where I actually know, like, you know, where, you know, they have adopted siblings and you look at them and they look alike, if you will, but they're not biologically.
Well, that's just coincidence then.
Yeah. So my point being, I think it's enough to just be from one of the parents
where you could just slide in.
Yeah, like, you know,
unless someone looks real different, like the other parent looks crazy different. If you're both black, if he looks kind of like my dad, I could slide in.
Well, even with you guys, like for instance, with your family, one of your sisters is really dark. Is much darker.
Is darker, yeah. But her facial, yeah.
Than the rest of y'all. And
but yeah. The only problem with, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the only problem with that is like she probably gets that from my mom's side, like the fact that she's a little bit darker. But then, so it's like, okay, what about my dad? But if you look at a baby picture of Summer and a baby picture of my dad, they look exactly the same. It's the weirdest thing ever.
If I showed you a baby
no, it's not just a baby versus baby. I promise you. But she also kind of looks like my dad.
If I showed you a baby picture of Manicero in Cuba and a baby picture of your dad, they look the same.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I'm gonna go ahead and say there's not enough evidence for me to think that nah.
No,
Now I've seen siblings where it's like but
so
yeah.
I'll tell you this. Like, there are siblings that have like um a family history of mixed heritage, or what, of mixed folks, if you will, like,
Yeah.
maybe black and Hispanic or whatnot. And you will have siblings, same father, same mother, that look completely different. Like, you will
Hmm.
have, you know, one with almost straight hair or whatnot, and then the other with like that's really dark skinned. And so,
Hmm.
same father, same, like, I know,
You've seen
like, I
twin.
know.
I've seen twins. There was a group of twins, and it was like one was black and one was white. I think the parents, actually, I think the parents might have been black,
Yeah.
but one was very light skinned, one was very dark.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying, like, I don't know, like, just going by, I hear you, but just going by the physical features,
It doesn't
physical
always
features.
get you where you need to be, but I think it gets you there most of the time.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, it does.
if you have siblings who are like those twins I was talking about, but they weren't twins, then then I'm like, you might be like, what's going on?
Yeah,
Why does one look like you know, uh Joe Biden, the other one looks like Barack Obama? Like, I don't know what's going on. But
I mean, for me, I'm curious about doing 23andMe as well. Just because I don't, maybe not 23andMe, one of the other ones. Because I'm curious just to see how, one, what it will say, right? Like, because technically, I
just
think,
Nigerian.
yeah.
Black.
But there is some chance that it just doesn't, like, it wouldn't only say I'm Nigerian, but because these are all artificial boundaries, right?
Yeah, how do they
And
make this? Because, like, yeah, it's not like Africa. Nigeria is a fairly new concept. It's just from
exactly.
colonialism. So it's like, what are you talking about? How would you know that they were in this spot versus that spot?
So I think, yeah. So I think what they do is they have the biological markers of, I guess, what in their mind is enough sampling of people from that
Mhm.
region,
Okay.
and they are from Nigeria. And then if your markers is similar to that, and they will say, hey, you are more similar to people from here and there. But what they sometimes do is they just don't say you are 100% from Nigeria. They will say, oh, you have ancestry from the western part of Nigeria and the western part of Benin and the eastern part of Cameroon, and they will break that
Hmm.
up into, something like that. But yeah, but you're right. At the end of the day, it's kind of like, for someone like me, who knows?
You have a sense of where they're. But how far does your family go back where you know where they're from though?
Yes and no. Yeah, yes, yes. In that, I have a general concept of, like, a general knowledge of where I think they're from. But the thing is, we don't have history,
Hmm.
like, recorded history. The interesting thing is, you will have Black Americans that will say things like, we don't know where we're from,
It's like,
right?
nigga,
Like,
you know where you're from. You from Africa. What are you talking about?
but the interesting thing is, for, I would say, the majority of Black Americans, there is some genealogy that you can trace back to, like, maybe 1700s or 1800. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For us, we don't have that.
Hmm.
We did not have written history until maybe, like, the 1960s. So, for
Wow.
instance, I don't know where, like, I can't say, whatever I know about my great grandfather or even my grandfather, for example, is just limited to what I'm told. It's not really like, if you go into see some archives in
Right.
Birmingham, Alabama,
Right.
I there is someone, my grandfather or great grandfather who was born in what, you know what I'm saying? We don't have that. Like when you, we don't, yeah, we don't have that at all. So that's why I
Yeah.
said yes and no. Yeah, yes, that you can say, okay, I know that I'm from Nigeria, but no, like in terms of just knowing that, oh, I know anything beyond just my immediate parents. Like I don't even know when my grandfather was born. And
Yeah.
and funny enough, with my dad, the only way we know why when my dad was born is because um he was born on the same day that a neighbor's child was also born, because my my grandfather could not read and write. So in my
Hmm.
dad's family, he was the first person that actually could read and write.
Mm. Got
He was
you.
the
And
first
so
person.
that's interesting. So no recorded history on birthdays. So it was just what someone told you that was your birthday, and were birthdays even that important?
It's not
You know,
important. So it's not important. I mean,
it didn't matter.
like what's the
You were
point of having a
generally
birthday?
born, a couple
Exactly.
of years ago. You're
So
two.
so basically, the way that they will kind of like know when someone was born is to kind of like they use whatever king is in power
Hmm.
to kind of like approximate, right? It will be like, oh, this king, let's say, uh, the king's name is King Mani whatever. King Mani, right?
Manny Sora or whatever. From
King
Cuba.
Manitoba, Manitoba.
Born in
King
1989.
Oh
Oh
my
man.
god.
So it's just like you're born in an era of a king.
Yeah, so they would say exactly. So that is what they would say. They would say like, "Oh, we," and they would know that this king has been in power for like 3 years. That was when you were born, or some other king died the same
Hmm.
year you were born. Something like that. So that's kind of like how they would know. So they generally just know years, if you will.
Hmm. Yeah.
Or they don't even know years. They just know that this king was born on this, and then you can now go back and say, "Oh, that king was born in 1913." So therefore, yeah, you look like you were 70.
Yeah. That's wild. That's so interesting though. That there was no concept, or not no concept, but just the concept of it is just so different than how we think of years
now,
now and over here. Like,
now, for some folks, it was different. So maybe I should put it this way: my dad was, when people think about Africa, right? They think about like a village where people in some farm or whatnot. My dad was born in abject poverty. Like, when you like, whatever you can imagine as what Africa is, and worse than that.
mm,
So now the major towns had more people that were educated, like Lagos and whatnot. And in those particular instances, those people have records. Like if you were like a
hmm,
merchant, like it just depends on your status in society,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Like if like, we have some Nigerians yeah, that were already like doctors in the 1800s and
Hmm.
1900s. Those people, they could read and write. There were certain families, you know what I'm saying, that had,
Right.
um, but those were few and far between. Those were the quote unquote high class. But
Right.
for someone like my dad, psh, please.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. I'm sure the
Yeah,
farther you got from the cities, and
exactly.
there weren't a bunch of records or any records of stuff like that. That's definitely very interesting, and that's a good point, because I guess that's what we're asking when Black people over here are like, I don't know anything about where I'm from. You're really just what you're saying is you don't know anything about like past your great grandpa or grandmother. Because but a lot of people don't, like, unless you look into it, and then at least for us we have something to look into. Like, I know I've had people in my family do these DNA tests, and like my older sister, I believe, did one, and she found out some stuff, just records, like, okay, there was a record of somebody in, I don't know, North Carolina that said X, Y, and Z, and oh, did you know that our great great grandfather was this thing or whatever? So there are some records that we can point to.
Exactly. And that's why, when people would say that, I remember having a conversation with someone about that. And I was just thinking that, that this trying to trace stuff back to Africa, Africans, that's actually not a thing.
They ain't tracing stuff in Africa. They're not even tracing anything in
Like,
Africa. So, like, what are you?
I don't, I don't know, I don't know anything beyond like my parents. Okay, So because she was saying, oh, she did this, she did an ancestry tracing or genealogy, and they have this family, and they found out that, for instance, they have family in Kentucky, and they reached out to this person, and and they started building these things.
Right.
Well, I'm like,
you can't do
nah,
none of
like
that.
like nah, like
Yeah.
it's yeah, that's not a thing. And I started to talk to my dad more recently about just the family history, and it's just interesting how it is such a rich history, right? And a lot of it were just things that were passed down to him as well,
Mhm.
orally, and all of that stuff. But yeah, but just in terms of what is written down, and what I can there, yeah. Like if I wanted to document our history, it would have to be something that I actually do as soon as possible and get as much information from, like, my dad and maybe some of my uncles and whatnot, and some great maybe uncles or aunts that are in the neighborhood and that my dad grew up in, and then try and piece things together, because now a combination of not being able to of not having that kind of written records, like, it's just so
Mhm.
many things that are now lost, like music that has been lost, like even language and sayings, and not just for my family alone, for a lot of other Africans. Like,
Yeah.
there isn't that thing that you can say you can hold on to. The only thing is maybe some of the culture and things that have been passed down, but that hasn't just both directly and indirectly. But outside of that, nah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was reading about Africa recently and like the griot and how they would pass down things orally. And I remember Dave Chappelle was talking about something. He made some speech, and his mom was talking about how he should be a griot before he became a comedian. She was like, you have it in you to be a griot, a storyteller. And she said, when a griot died, it was like a library burning down in Africa.
Yeah, and that is how a lot of things were passed down, especially so historically. Um, Different families were known for different things, right? So you may have a family that they were just maybe herbalists, like they call native doctors. Like they are the family that if somebody got sick in the town or village, that you go to them and they have the herbs or whatnot to so in those families they will pass the secrets of the medicines
Hmm.
and all of that stuff down. And then you have other families, they're more musicians, or and there are different parts of that. They could play different drums, or um depending on what part of Africa you're from, like what we call xylophone, the balafon,
Hmm.
um djembe, and for some they are more uh, like farmers or ranchers. They own cattle, and they were responsible for like meat and things like that, and others they are just farmers or hunters. So they have those that's usually. And then you have the royal families as well, right? And
Hmm.
you have the chiefs who are like the subjects of and not only do you have history that is passed down through those families that way, you also know those families by their names, like the names that they just go by, right? Like
Hmm.
for the most part, if you're name starts with Ade, whatever, it means sometime somewhere down your lineage, your family is probably like a king or chief or something. Like if your name is like Anyon, whatever, it means you guys were musicians, like were drummers or what. So if your name was Ogun, whatever, it means you guys were like probably um you know like you guys were some sort of practitioners of certain deities or what. So it was just so yeah. And then for the griots, a lot of the griots, that's more is more related to entertainment, right? Like because the griot is kind of like uh so there are two ways to think about it. One is kind of like they will usually keep stories either through their music or
Hmm.
through storytelling. And and when I say music, it's kind of like they tell the stories or they hold the stories through music, right? And then sometimes it could be specific events that necessitates them to come out and do certain things, and maybe some rituals or whatnot. But yeah, and they just pass the stories down. And I mean, if you're just listening to some music, they are telling stories. So it's not just
Yeah, it's
that's why
interesting. Like the parallels between that and hip hop, like of just like using music to tell stories. And while you do that with all songs, hip hop uniquely is literally just like telling stories, and it's different than other contemporary music. Other music, it's like we haven't. It's almost like we haven't seen something like that in the modern music. But there is like you can see the connection between you know a griot and like someone who just raps. Jay-Z is a griot. Um,
exactly. Jay-Z is a griot, and I think one of the one of the unsung things about music, especially black music all across the world,
mhm.
is the relationship of this music to Africa. Like when you talk about just straight up African music like Fuji and some of this other stuff, and then you just trace them down. There is a direct lineage between that and like and what people will call funk and
Mhm.
yeah, and even like salsa or son, like Cuban son and all that stuff. And then you talk about um some of the, I don't want to say stereotype, some of the black jazz.
Yeah, the
uh,
black music. I mean, black people. It is interesting, right? Like, black people
it,
have taken over music, but there is a direct correlation that goes to Africa. Like, as you see the line, it's definitely there.
it is there.
Um,
It is there. Like it is yeah. And it has always been a form of self expression. And I don't think, and that's why music for a lot of Africans is just a way of life. Like you were just around music, like when sometimes when and it's not like that for all Africans. So
mhm.
but for many folks, it's kind of like you were just around it. Like
Yeah,
you don't even think of it as like, it's almost like sometimes in like out in some other place, people think of it as this thing that like special people do. It's like eating. It's it's kind of like music. It's like you eat every day, you do music every day. So
yeah,
and yeah, I mean even contemporary music, Afro beats and all of that stuff. Um those are all derivatives of the old school, um the old the griot type storytelling, right?
yeah.
So
Speaking of music from Nigeria, do you listen to Burna Boy?
yeah, so a lot of people, I mean, people are now acting like Bonner Boy has been around for such a long time now.
I'm sure I'm super late to the
My
party.
my mind is just blown that. everyone is just finding out who he is, and people will ask me like, "Oh, have you heard of Bonner?" I'm like, "Are you kidding
I
me?"
knew you heard of him. I was just
Like,
seeing it.
I mean, that's kind of like Trump, right? We're saying this in one of our episodes. We're like, when he found out about the coyote,
What a coyote means. He just couldn't stop saying it. I'm definitely one of those people. I'm like, oh man, y'all heard of Burna Boy? Yo, this shit is fire. Like I discovered him. Like I put him on the map.
yeah,
20
like
years after you've been doing this.
yeah, and you think like everyone just found out as well, like, oh, you're breaking news, like the CNN breaking news, like you're the
But
Burner Boy.
it's one of those things though. It feels unique to have a hip hop artist from Nigeria. I'm sure there are plenty of them over there, but to have one kind of become so mainstream, he has this coolness factor, this kind of uniqueness. It's like, oh man, I know somebody from that. That's so cool. Even though that stuff, there's been plenty of hip hop artists in Nigeria. He's just kind of the first one to cross over so much.
So there had been a few that crossed over. So there is one called Davido.
I think I've heard of them actually.
Yeah, and he had some music with Kanye and all that stuff, and and if you are, but I've always wondered why it took so long for some of the big, for Nigerian hip hop artists
hmm
to just break into mainstream American radio and listenership. But because they listen to them around the world. I remember when I went to um Trinidad,
hmm
like they were playing, and this was many years ago. They were playing some of the Nigerian artists in Carnival. So in Europe, like, what I'm saying, like if you in the UK or whatnot, like you could enter into a departmental store and to just be like Nigerian, the way you have like
Yeah.
Louis
No,
Armstrong playing. Yeah, it would be like
yeah.
so. I've always wondered why it took so long to break into. I think it's because there is just so many of American, like, you're not going to exhaust American artists, right?
Yeah, we
And
have. There's so many people in line trying to be hot in America. We have too many. It's the market is saturated, and hip hop's very American too. So I think part of it is just
yeah,
we see anything that's not as good a lot of times, and or just too different, and we're like, we got our own thing. Like you guys are just trying to copy us, but then the cool thing about like someone like Burna Boy is like you listen to it, and he's just really good. It brings a new perspective onto hip hop, and then you're like, oh man, I really like this. But also I think because in those other places like in Trinidad and also in Europe, a lot of the black people there are from the Caribbean or Africa. So I think they're more likely to listen to Nigerian artists because Africa and the Caribbean, for whatever reason, you guys have more of a connection than together. Like I remember when we were in business school, like you guys would all speak broken English. For those who don't know, that's just the coolest way to speak when you are from Africa or the Caribbean. But you guys connected on that level, and but I'm a Black American. Like we just don't have that. I don't know how to do that, how to speak like that. There's some, you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, that's probably it, and yeah, like I just think the American, it's just hard to break into, into anything in America. Like even if you look at things like comedy or whatnot, like we have Trevor Noah, right?
hmm
And
Yeah.
outside of him, like I don't think people even know who the heck he was before they just
He was
named him
huge
as
in South Africa. He was huge
yeah.
in the world, over the world, and we
It,
were like, we just heard about him
yeah.
like on the Daily Show. Like, who's this
Honestly, like who is this guy? Like,
guy? He was like selling out like stadiums in South Africa, like years before he was over here. Um,
exactly. So and that was the thing, right? Like it was this huge, and it was young. Like it was already
mhm,
all it just needed was an opportunity, and people were like skeptical. I remember even watching on YouTube then,
mhm.
like established comedians here in the US that were upset, that were hating. Like,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
like, they thought they were gonna get
They thought they were going to be the next news anchor
exactly.
on
Like,
the
I
Daily
mean,
Show.
people were just upset. Like, but he's done well. I
He's
mean,
done
he
really
has an
well. I was skeptical at first, not just because he was from South Africa. I was just skeptical because it was such Jon Stewart's show. I was like, is anyone really going to be able to, it's just a new person. I mean, I'm sure
it's
that
the new.
that played somewhat that he was a foreigner, and I was like, ugh. And then he's also, this is going to be weird, but he's done really, really well, I think.
Yeah, and given that, what the Daily Show at the time with Jon Stewart, what that was for American culture, right? Like, it was big, and it was influential when it came to politics, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it was so
Yeah.
so it felt like it's got to be an American that is in
Yeah,
this thing.
yeah,
It,
yeah. How
like,
basically how dare you? How dare you
yeah,
skip over the line? All of a sudden you're gonna have this fool who's from South Africa.
with his
But
funny accent.
yeah, what's actually interesting? Trevor Noah was offered the Daily Show before, like years before, maybe like a couple years before he actually took the job. Like Jon Stewart was really impressed by him. I guess he got wind of kind of what he was doing internationally, and he asked him if he wanted to do the Daily Show. And at the time, Trevor Noah said, "You be aight," because he said, I appreciate the opportunity, but I'm doing what I love. I'm doing stand up. I'm touring. I like traveling. I like stand up. Like, I'm not going to do it. Like, there's no reason for me to stop doing something I love. I mean, I know people be like, "Oh, that's the best opportunity. You can't turn it down." It's like, well, I just did. Because and he's one of the most interesting people I think I've ever seen. Like, I read his book Born a Crime, and it was really, really a good book. But I think just overall, like, he's one of the most interesting people, kind of celebrities that I know. I have a lot of respect for him, and I think he's just a really interesting guy.
Yeah, it's interesting. And talking about comedy, right? Like, one of the things that I've been doing is I've been watching, um, just random comedians, and uh, yeah, and there is this comedian. His name is Patrice O'Neill.
Oh yeah, I know Patrice. Rest in
I know.
peace. Peace.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, I was talking to, I was like Patrice. I was like, "Come on, man! Like, take his name is Patrice."
Yeah, what the hell? This is a French or Spanish comedian? No, this is a nigga
I
from
read,
Boston.
but funny thing, of course, Patrice is a French name, right?
Yeah.
And he was actually named after Patrice Lumumba. So that was,
Who is Haitian? Is that a Haitian person?
no, it's not an Asian person. So this was like, one of the um revolutionary, uh if
Guys in
you
France?
no, it's from Congo. So it's like,
Oh.
yeah, like, it's one of the, I guess you could call them,
Ah, okay.
Congolese independence, whatever. His name was Patrice.
Got you.
And
Like in the 60s?
and Patrice, yeah, exactly. He was assassinated in the 60s. And Patrice
Mm,
O'Neill, his middle name is actually Lumumba. So
that is interesting.
yeah.
I
So
mean,
that is
that is so
so his mom named him
his mom
after.
knew. His mom was woke
Yeah.
as fuck.
His mom is like,
His mom was woke as fuck. That's actually a really cool story. He is probably regarded as one of the best among comedians. Like, I listen to a lot of comedy podcasts and interviews and stuff, and you talk to like top comedians today, and they will regard him as one of the best to ever do it. Like, he has a lot of respect among comedians. He's like a comedian's comedian. And he's a very
he
funny guy.
I like, he is hilarious. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
he's
So I have
hilarious.
this clip that I teared up that I'm gonna play, and um of him, and I'm just curious, I want to get your reaction. So
Let's
this
see.
this is called Harassment Day, right?
Okay.
Harassment Day. So we're gonna,
Let's see if I
can you hear him?
turn it up a little bit. It's a little low.
It's a little low.
Yeah, let me see.
Let me see. I think. Hmm, I'm not sure if I can do something on my end to. Actually, let me try something. Where is? Okay. All right. So I'm gonna try this out and see what this does. So this is harassment day.
Let's see.
It's still low.
It's a little low, yeah.
Oh, maybe I think I know what might be the reason for that. Um, I'm gonna. Okay, let me try this audio. Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, I think this is gonna be better. All right, so we will do this again.
All right, let's see.
Still not good.
Still a little low, yeah. Yeah, this is kind of the same actually. Wait, I kind of missed the first setup part though. Oh man, what's the gist of it?
Nah, I gotta play this for you because I want your reaction. Wait,
Oh,
let me.
man.
Yeah, that's no.
I
I gotta
missed the
figure this.
setup. I heard the punchline, but I missed the setup.
You
So
missed the setup. Yeah. So
yeah.
let me try and so let me try something here. Okay, so that looks good there. Um, we have the micro under here and the speakers. Maybe it's just the video itself that is low. Let me just play something random and see how that
Hmm.
plays.
Yeah. I don't know if I've seen this one. I guess I could try to play.
Um, because it might just be that the recording is low, right?
Can you hear it fine? Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's still low.
It's still low.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Hmm. I mean, I could definitely. Hmm. Yeah. That's weird because we've
What about
definitely done
that?
this. Let me see. Hold on. Play it again. Um, that's better. I think. Yeah, I can hear that. It's not like great, but let's see if this is better. Here it is. That's good.
Discuss harassment for a second. It's just you feel it a little bit like it's just disgusting. Why can't I harass you? Sometimes I can never harass you. Never. And I'm not talking about like, I'm talking just harass you at the workplace. Like,
Oh man.
you looking how you looking, and I can't just a little something that has to do. Like, you got to be careful just to say, "Hey, you look beautiful today." That's how messed up the game is. I think you should be able to comment on any part of the body that you see. If you, what's your name? What's your name? What's your name? Jeannie. Now, Jeannie, no disrespect, but if I work with you, I should be able to walk in and go, "Oh, Jeannie, beautiful titty meat you have." I see that. But whatever the scientific term is, Mr. A 4.9 grade point average. What's the scientific term for
This guy.
And it's not the cleavage. I mean, the cleavage is the space in the middle. I'm talking about the meat, the titty. And I'm not being foul, just, whoa. You know what I'm saying? Just so I can go through the rest of the day without pretending that I don't see. Which you understand what I'm saying? I mean, let's work out a deal. Don't get me fired. Having women work with men, right, is like having a grizzly bear work with salmon.
All right, let me pause that.
Oh my gosh, this guy is crazy.
What do you think about that?
Oh man, he's crazy, but I think, yeah, I mean that's what a good comedian can do. Take a ridiculous concept with some truth in it and just make people laugh. I mean, that was, I think, yeah, that's like, I see him like that's comedy, right? Like what he's doing. He takes a concept that if you just said, I should be able to harass women at work, no one's going to agree with that. It's a ridiculous argument to make, right? And yet somehow it gets people on board through his. It's just, yeah, that's yeah, he's pretty good at what he did. I mean, I don't know if he could do that now, but
So that's actually why I wanted to play that, right?
yeah.
And when we talk about comedy and a lot of comedians, I think we probably talked about it. We touched on it a little bit in some of our earlier episodes in terms of political correctness and things like that. And so you think you can't make this joke now? Like, why do you think he can't make this joke now? I mean,
well, not that he can't make it. I just don't. Sure.
Two questions. Yeah. So maybe you started to answer the first part.
No,
so,
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so two parts of the question is, if you think he can't make this joke now, again, he's passed on. So let's just use a random comedian, right? Some other comedian. Like, if you can't make this joke now, why shouldn't someone be able to make this joke today?
If you can't make it, why shouldn't? I mean, so I don't know. I'm not, because by me saying you can't, that's not saying I think you should not be able to make that joke. I think all comedians should be able to try jokes. When I say they can't make it, I'm not saying you shouldn't try. I'm just saying I don't know if audiences would be as accepting of the premise, and they might, you'd run into people, getting more offended and maybe not laughing. But it's not like when he said it back then that wasn't still a ridiculous thing to say, right? Like it's not like he said that and everyone's like, yeah, we should have sexual harassment at work. Like that was still not even a close to normal thing for anyone to just come out and say. So he was still playing with the line, and he knew that what he was saying was ridiculous, right? That's the whole point. You create that tension, you come up with that premise, and then you somehow figure out a way to make people laugh about it. But I'm just saying now, I think, audiences, and I don't like to say audiences because I think there's a difference between people who are on Twitter versus people who are actually at comedy shows, and the people at comedy shows are not on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter. I mean, I hardly ever go on Twitter. So I think, like, I've heard the statistic that like 6% of the world or something is on Twitter, or some very small number. But I don't know. I mean, but I see that. I recognize it as comedy. I recognize it as, I see it from the craft perspective, and I think, I see something like that and I'm like, oh, he's doing what a comedian should do, like, or what a comedian does. That's the craft of comedy. He's succeeding at comedy. That's when I see something like that. But I also recognize that, we live in a different time. This is definitely pre-Me Too. So, we just live in a different time. So I don't know how. I think it would be, what I'm trying to say is it would be harder for him to make that joke now. Doesn't mean he couldn't do it, but I think it would be harder because the premise is even more ridiculous. So you have to really try hard to get people on board, and there's a way you set jokes up. There's a way that you make yourself likable enough, and maybe likable is not even the word, but there's a way where you ease into jokes. You get people to follow you. If you get people to follow you here, then can you get people to follow you here? And then can you get them to follow you here? You kind of have to like guide people through your thought process so that they trust you. So you trust them to this sentence, and then they see what you're saying here. Then you trust them to this next sentence, and then all of a sudden you're at this like weird premise, right? Like you're like, wait, what? Why am I laughing at this? But the way he went about it got you there. So I think it would be harder to do that, but I don't think it's impossible. I don't know. That's a lot. That's rambling. That's a lot of stuff. What do you think about your own questions?
Yeah, I think it will be able to make this joke today. It is gonna be recognized as such a joke, as being like, we heard this and we were laughing, right? And
yeah.
And if you asked me, like, if you asked any of us, either of us, like, hey, should you be able to harass a woman? Of course, obviously, that's a no.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
I'm sorry, we have to like spell that out. Like, what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah.
But we also recognize this as a joke. I think. But I think you're also right that if this were to be a part of a Netflix special, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The headline is gonna be Patrice Lumumba. From Congo.
This is a Congo newspaper. One of our own sons, Patrice.
Exactly. Like Patrice Lumumba just said that we should be harassing women at work. You totally take it out of context. It will be on Twitter, and there will be some outrage.
There's nothing worse than taking things completely out of context too. If you took a lot of anything I said, like my jokes on stage, and just wrote them down like a transcript, a lot of the stuff would be ridiculous. Like take that to any comedian. I mean, it's just like to read it like it's an actual real statement without any context that you're in a comedy show is just completely ridiculous, and does not do the actual statement any justice at all. But yeah, I mean, you and I, obviously, I think we can just be like, yeah, it's a joke. But we just live in a different time. I can't tell half the time like how serious people are. I remember, when what's interesting though, what did you think about the Kevin Hart debacle with the Oscars thing? I feel like that's a similar issue because you have a comedian who made a joke 10 years ago, and then they tried to cancel him in 2019, 2018 for a joke he said in 2010 or 2009. Whereas, like, obviously, when he said it back then, he was getting plenty of people to laugh. But now you're using it as a way to cancel him.
Yeah, I thought the Kevin Hart thing was, quite frankly, ridiculous. Like, I thought it was overblown. And should you make fun of like a minority, marginalized population? Making fun of people is different from making a joke as a comedian, and that is your craft. Like, I get it. Like, there is this comedian called, I believe his name is Larry the Cable Guy or something like that.
Yeah.
And
I never thought I'd hear you say that name. You might be the first Nigerian to ever say Larry the Cable Guy. That entire sentence.
So if I listen to, like, I've seen some of his stuff before. Not, I don't think more than 5. Just
I've seen his stuff. I've seen some of his stuff. I mean, I don't watch it religiously, but I've seen him on TV.
Yeah, I mean, you I don't know if you get paid or if you make your living trying to make people laugh, but you do that as a craft. Like, for me, but it's not my type of comedian, right? Like, I just don't find it. The same thing with Amy Schumer. You know what I'm saying? Like, Amy Schumer is an example. I don't find her funny. Like, I don't think she's funny at all. But I also understand that there are a ton of people that find Amy Schumer. Like, if Amy Schumer should have a concert today, boy, that thing is gonna be sold out. Like,
right
in New York. The same thing with Larry the Cable Guy. If he goes on tour, his audience, the folks that love him, I mean, that know him, love him, and they follow it. So yeah. Should you make fun of people? I think making fun of people is different from when you are a comedian and you're writing a joke. And that's why I've also said that, when people talk about blackface, right? The example that I usually go to is black. And today, blackface is not socially acceptable as something that you should do as a joke anymore.
Right.
But it is also a fact that there was a point when it was supposedly funny. Now, to me, if you wore blackface today, I won't find it funny. I don't find it funny. But it doesn't mean that there aren't certain jokes that 10, 15 years from now, would evolve from being quote unquote funny into like, that is not just a thing that we do anymore. And it could be that this kind of joke would also fall in that realm. But I think, but the bottom line is, I think for a comedian, I think there is, I don't necessarily think there is a line that they shouldn't be able to cross. Like, if you're a comedian and you want to wear blackface, do it. Like, but
yeah. I don't have to go see you. You're not forcing me to go to your show. I mean, yeah, I mean, honestly, with blackface generally, I mean, I think I obviously don't think it's funny or find it entertaining. I understand it has a painful history, but yeah, I kind of agree. It's like, if you want, that's what you want to try to do. It's freedom of expression. I don't have to go see your show, and if you can get a bunch of people to watch you, good luck with that. But but like, when we find that people did blackface when they were in college or whatever, it's like, I mean, yeah, it was a stupid thing that they did, but I don't know if I don't know if we need to crucify people. I mean, you look at the governor of Virginia, who had the blackface scandal, and eventually people just were like, you know what, whatever, there's actual shit to be concerned about. And the fact that he was an idiot and was racist at a party in 1984, that actually isn't going to help me pay my bills. Like, and it's not like he defended it and was like, you're damn right, and I'll do it again. Like, you know what I mean? And eventually black people were like, all right, we'll give you another shot. Don't fuck up again, though. Because
but
you know what I mean?
But the way I actually saw that particular episode, right? Like, with the governor, I
Yeah.
actually saw that two ways. I'm like, first of all, you telling me that one, you know, some southern white guy that went to college or med school in 1984 in the 70s, 80s, wore blackface, and I'm shocked. I said black. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm
Right.
shocked that could have
I can't
happened.
believe that. Of course it happened. It's probably happening right now. Like wake up. But honestly, I don't think it's black people. I think it's mainly white people
It's
who are
white people.
angry.
It's
It's the black people don't give a fuck about
They don't
that.
give a fuck
Like,
about it.
are you serious? Like, we have real shit to be concerned about. Like,
Exactly. So that's one, right? So that's the first piece of it. The second piece is the people that were crying foul about the Republicans. I'm like, really? You guys?
I know. your whole political party is blackface. If blackface could be a political party, I feel like yours would be a blackface mascot. So yeah, don't. But yeah, I thought that was, and you know what? People have short memories. I think there's this people will get outraged about something for like a day, and then they just tire themselves out. Like, all you have to do if you ever get in trouble, and I've noticed this, like with Kevin Hart, with the governor from Virginia, just wait it out. Just stay on the ropes. Let them let Twitter tire itself out, and they'll forget about it because something else will happen, and they're going to jump on somebody else. Kevin Hart's career is better than ever right now. Governor Northam is still he's still the governor of Virginia, because people just you didn't actually. You know what I mean? Like, if you committed a crime, or you made some policy that really hurt people, but you doing something that was in poor taste years ago, decades ago, no, that's not a real thing. And anyone who's actually an adult,
this is embodied that is the body of Donald Trump. I'm like, give me a break. Like,
I mean, let's not pretend like this actually is affecting anything right now. We've all done and said things that we probably, if we could go back, we wouldn't do, or whatever, or we might regret. But I don't know. I mean, there's not a single, and that's the thing. Like, there's not a single person who hasn't. Not that there's not a single person who hasn't done blackface. I've never done blackface, but just you've said some things, or you've joked about things, or whatever, and it just was like, that probably wasn't in poor taste, or that was probably in poor taste. But I am 10 years wiser now. That was 10 years ago, and
exactly. I mean, yeah. When you said you've never worn blackface, I was like, well,
every day of my life.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
I'm like, speak for yourself.
I wear blackface all the time. I wish sometimes I could take the blackface off. Like, if I get pulled over, that'd be nice. Just take it off. Just be some white guy named Steve or something.
You will play the rest of this, but I think.
Yeah. I think it was an interesting point, but I mean, I'm kind of on the same wavelength. I mean, especially as a comedian, I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting though, because like sometimes I'll find that even in the comedy scene, you'll find like people who are like super woke or whatever, and it's not that they get. I don't know. It can be weird, but I think the vast majority of not just comedians, but adults who understand how life works don't care. You know what I mean? Like, so, but especially a comedian, I think you should be able to understand that it's a joke. If you can create something that's funny and makes people laugh, it's craft. It's not supposed to be taken seriously. And
so
and if you don't think it's funny,
when I saw that, what I thought of was, okay, like, would Manny write this joke? And my answer was like, nah.
I couldn't pull it off.
You said what?
I couldn't pull it off, or it's like, I wouldn't. No,
when I say, and what I mean is, it's not even about pulling it off. Let's even assume that you can pull it off.
You know,
But I'm
Patrice
just
O'Neal.
saying.
That I have his skill set. I would love to have that skill set.
No,
He's
yeah,
pretty
like
good.
I'm even saying, I'm assuming that you have the skill set, right?
Okay.
Like I'm assuming that like you have the skill set, but maybe tell me if I'm wrong. Like I feel like you would think this is probably too um controversial that you probably wouldn't write. Like even if you wrote it, you may not perform it. Like tell me if I'm wrong. Like what?
Do it in my bathroom. Like, man, this would kill, but I can't say this
Like,
out loud.
I'm like you're gonna be like,
Yeah.
like, you know, like I would
Yeah.
like to harass you. I'm like,
Yeah. That's gonna be a tough one. You know, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be a tough sell. But I will say, like, you know, I do think of jokes, and I'm like, you know, it's rare for me if I really think something's funny to not try to be like, yeah, let's maybe try to push through. But I think part of me thinking something's really funny is thinking the audience will find it funny. So with this, it would be hard because I know it would be something that I would have to jump over a lot of hurdles to make sure they could get, or that they would think is funny. But I don't know. Yeah, it's again, he did something that is what the process of comedy is, but it's yeah, I don't know. Would I say that? Would I X that one out? Would I be like, you know what? I'm not gonna tell this. It would.
I think I think we
I
should
don't
have a
know.
new segment called "Would Manny write this joke?" Like,
Would I write that joke? It's like I might write it. Would I tell it?
would,
It
would Manny tell this joke? Like that's the. You know what? Let me play the second part of this,
okay.
and 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 we'll come back and we'll ask the same question.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. I want to be sure we were.
And the grizzly bears is like,
Oh no.
and fish.
Okay.
I think I've actually may have seen this. I can't remember how it goes though,
Yeah.
and I think I'm
let's
echoing
see.
for
You're
some
echoing.
reason. Not anymore.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
All right. Let's.
And the salmon get to walk through
Wait.
dipped in honey. Like so
Mm,
you better work with salmon.
wait. Well,
Yeah. So this is where we were.
Having women work with men, right, is like having a grizzly bear work with salmon.
I think I've seen this.
Now you dip the salmon in the honey, right? Grizzly bears, and the salmon get to walk through comfortable with honey and fish. And good morning, grizzly bears. And the grizzly bears is like, hey, you can't even growl like, what's up, fish? Oh my God, human resources. The grizzly bear just get grizzly bears. Like I can't even go, hey, good morning, fish, good morning. I can't touch like no. Oh, let me just get a little bit of that fish, a little bit. Get that honey. Oh my God. Fish and honey, man, that's my favorite. Usually I kill fish and eat them, stuff like that. Just wanted to just rub a little bit of that. That's oppressive. Like you shouldn't even. And there's cameras everywhere. You can't do like weird stuff behind the back. Like, why would it be disrespectful? I said, what's your name? Terrell. If I go, hey Terrell, we work together. And I go, Terrell, hey, do me a favor. Let me know when you're getting up to go to the bathroom so I can sniff your chair. It's disrespectful, it's sexual, but that keeps me from being think, look, it should be a holiday, for lack of a better word, harassment day, but not whatever. But I mean, a day where I get to find out, like, because, and this is why it should be harassment day, because women get to be inappropriate sexually all the time. You get to be inappropriate. And when I say inappropriate, I mean say hello to me too close. Hi.
Okay. Now, this is a good place to pause.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. I think there is quite a few to discuss there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So your reaction to that?
Oh, funny. Just I think as a comedian, just brilliant. I mean, I think he's really good. He has a lot of jokes actually with fish as a metaphor for
really?
some reason. Yeah, he has another one where he talks about monogamy and he relates it to fishing. It's really funny. I'll have to find it for you. I don't want to. Again, I can't tell it. It doesn't. I don't do it justice because the way he goes about it is really funny.
Actually,
but,
maybe we should back up a little bit. What do you feel about telling other people's jokes? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
telling
so
other people's jokes.
So, for instance, I actually saw a clip of Dave Chappelle this past week. He was on Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I saw some of that.
And he was describing some other comedian who I think maybe he said that person was super funny or whatever.
Oh,
And
I
he
know
was
who
like,
you're
"Oh,
talking about.
I can't tell that man's joke." So, and I thought to myself, like, "Huh, that's interesting. Like, is that a comedian code thing where
No,
because I
it's-
know that
well-
people get in trouble if you go out and go tell somebody else's joke on stage, right?
Yeah,
So,
you can't do that.
like
Yeah.
that is plagiarism, right? But
That's yeah.
but in terms of a conversation, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, conversation. There's nothing unethical about me telling you the joke and saying, "Hey, this is the Patrice O'Neill joke," and I tell it to you on a podcast. And I'm not saying it like it's my own. You could even do that on stage and say, "Hey, everyone, this is a Patrice O'Neill joke." You're not going to get laughs necessarily because that's weird, but that's fine. It's just more like I don't do it justice. Like I can't. You know what I mean? Like the way Patrice O'Neill does it, you have to hear it because it will be so much funnier if you hear it as opposed to me just like explaining it. I also don't like saying my own jokes, even in just conversation. Like I don't like people like, oh, like what's that joke? I don't even like talking about like concepts even because it's like I only want to say it like when I'm on stage. Like there are times like, you know, when I'm with friends, like I'll joke around and I'll sneak in concepts that I'm like maybe working on, maybe, you know, but I won't. I'm not going to like do my set or do a joke in a conversation because it's just weird. So that's probably what Dave Chappelle was talking about. I saw that clip. I think he just was like, I can't do it justice because it's just the way that guy does it.
yeah.
And it's not going to be nearly as funny if I just tell you what the joke is.
So,
But
would Manny write or make this joke that this part of Patrice O'Neill with his face? Like, I'm gonna rub your face.
like, why can't I just when you go up? I mean, he's just like
that is walking to the line, like past the line.
he's walking to the line. But you know, and part of it too is also seeing him. I mean, you could listen to that and probably laugh, but I mean, part of the experience, at least for us, was to be able to see him, see his face, see his his facial expression. Like the best is all of that is so important. The best is actually being at the comedy show. And even before I did stand up, I would go to a lot of comedy shows. So that's one of the best feelings is actually being in the room, getting to see him, getting to feel the vibe. I mean, it's very difficult to misconstrue that as not a joke because you're there in the room and it's live and you have all of the context. That's why when, you know, you have the headline that Patrice what was it? Lumumba? What was it? Lumumba. Patrice Lumumba says sexual harassment is okay. You know, that you've stripped it of all context.
It was by Patrice O'Neill.
I know, but like for this conversation, Lumumba.
Like, no, it's not Mutombo. Just because
he's African. I know. I felt like
in Africa doesn't mean
yeah.
in Togo.
I might get canceled. I don't know, but yeah. So I think with you have all the context there, but I don't know. I mean, someone could vehemently disagree with me, but it was super clear to us watching it that it was a joke and it was not meant to be taken seriously. And when you look at it in that context and you look at it in through the lens of especially a comedian, but even before I was a comedian, just a fan of comedy, like you totally understand what he's doing. And it's just the absurdity of what he was saying was the joke. That was, you know what I mean? Like when he was like, why can't I just ask if you go up to sniff your chair? I mean, that's a ridiculous, like, it's just so good and hilarious and so ridiculous. And it's almost annoying that we sometimes feel we have to explain that. And I say we, just anyone, not just comedians, like, that, oh, this is a joke, because that just makes it unfunny. It should just be understood it's a joke. And if people think it's too offensive, or the people in the audience thought it was too offensive, they just don't laugh. It's actually not that hard to figure out what comedy, like I said, it censors itself. If people aren't laughing, it could be for a variety of reasons. It's just not that funny, or I'm offended, or whatever. But if a comedian doesn't think this is going to work, there's no way he or she is going to say a joke.
All right, let's see. I think we have let's see this out and.
Or some weird massage because you think we're friends and you, good morning, little kiss, and he's just like, oh boy, boy. And you think in your head, man, I wonder. Well, harassment day allows you to be able to ask all year. I say the Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
So it's in 2 days. Harassment day is in 2 days.
Flowers, you're just real cool. You walk up, you're respectful. You say, hey, how are you? You know, good afternoon, Trevor. Happy harassment day. And you just like say, listen, I was wondering all year if you would suck my dick in the broom closet.
Okay.
Oh my God.
And you just be like, no, thank you. I'm not. And you be like, thank you. Keep the flowers. I just thought I made a mistake. I thought you was a hoe all year.
Okay.
Oh, that was it, man. That was.
Oh my gosh. See, that's why he's one of the best. Okay. Like, he's hilarious. Oh my gosh. That was. Yeah, I'm glad you shared that clip. That was hilarious. And because I've seen some of his stuff, but I don't think I've ever watched like an entire special of his. But comedians talk about him all the time. I'm talking about like, Chris Rock and Bill Burr. They all think he's just one of the best. And the fact that he passed early was just, I mean, it's tragic just because anyone dies, but tragic for the comedy world because we're missing out on whatever he would have done after. But yeah, man, he's good. I'll send you that clip though where he talks about monogamy and uses fish again.
Yeah, I mean, it's when I saw that, I was dying, and I was like, man, would Manny write this joke?
I don't know. We'll see. I got plenty of time left to write stuff, so we'll see. But yeah, it is interesting. Like I definitely say I say all types of stuff, and it's stuff I wouldn't say just if I'm being serious. But that's comedy. It's there has to be some type of absurdity to it, and but also truth. I mean, what Patrice was saying, it's not like. I mean, it just had all the ingredients of something to make a good joke. It was absurd. There was truth in it. There was it was just fun timing. I mean, his everything. It was all good.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we have come to the end of the show. Man, you have any last words for the fans, the 200 of
Uh
them that downloaded the show?
yeah, 200 and counting. Thanks for listening, y'all. And I hope everybody is having a good November, has a good Thanksgiving. I know it's going to be a weird one, but hope everybody stays safe. And you know, maybe you got to Zoom people instead of meeting in person. But hopefully everybody still has a good holiday. I don't know, but yeah, thanks for listening, y'all. That was a good time. That was fun.
Yeah, man. Well, folks, thanks for listening. And on that note, UBI, we're out.
Aiight.
Whew. Well,
And that was
that was funny.
that was hilarious.
I'm thinking maybe I should break this up as well, because I thought the part where we talked about the jokes is probably about 30 minutes,
Okay.
and that could be just its own thing, because I think that's, you know what I mean,
It's like
like that's
it's an interesting
yeah,
topic. It could be its
yeah,
own topic.
be
I
its
don't know.
own
What did we
topic
talk
where
about?
we
And then
could.
we talked. But the thing before was interesting though, because we talked about Africa
Oh
and
yeah. I thought that was interesting. Like
yeah.
it's funny. I don't really talk. Yeah, I haven't really talked much about it in the past. But yeah, that was interesting. I feel like as I was talking about that, I felt like that could go many places. Like
Yeah, I
just
was.
in
I mean,
terms,
I want to bring that up again because I'm just, there's more to discuss to be continued because
there is,
there's a lot of stuff there.
there
I
is
was
a
like,
ton.
damn, but that's a funny point though, because it's like black people are like, oh man, I don't know where I'm from. It's like you know where you're from more than the Nigerians do. Like, I mean, for a lot
Exactly,
of people, like what guy?
exactly.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly. I mean, I get it. When people say, "Oh, I don't know where you're from," I'm from. You know, you basically just saying you don't know that you are from this country or that country. But and I guess, as a Nigerian, I guess you could say I know where I'm from, but that's about it.
But
Outside of
it's like, what
that,
does that do?
yeah, that
Like, what happens after that? you
yeah, that
know,
is not as interesting as
wh-
one.
like where your
Yeah,
family was like 250 years ago. You know what I
ex-
mean?
yeah,
Or like
ex-
300 years ago. I mean, I'm with you. I never really understood. I mean, I think it's interesting just generally to find out where your family's from, but it's not the whole, oh my gosh, like we don't have. I hate when black people say we don't have any culture. I really hate that. I think
nah,
that's so ignorant. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we have so much culture. Like, what does that even mean?
yeah, like
Um,
that's not a thing.
that's just not a thing. Like, we don't have any culture. We don't know where we're from. Like, what? What are you talking about? I feel like we know a lot of where our people are from, like things we did, like the culture, the history, the music, the food. What are you talking about? Black African American culture is a very rich culture. Like, I don't know. That always confuses me.
It is very rich. I mean, I remember over the summer when George Floyd died and all of that stuff. I went on to I downloaded the lyrics of "Fuck the Police," right?
Hmm.
Just to kind of like read it and see. I'm like, this was such a prescient lyric. Like when people talk, it felt like that song could be released today,
Hmm.
and we still literally talking about the same thing. And it's
Yeah.
funny how, and I started thinking about how, obviously I wasn't living in the US at the time, but with everything I've read about how controversial that song was and how you have the US Congress, like,
Hmm.
they were, there was this big inquest about
Right.
these guys having the audacity to write, having the audacity to be artistic, right? To
Hmm.
write and to be provocative, to talk about your experiences and to talk about it in a way that people will listen and all that. And I just thought that was that that was so underrated, the way the brilliance of these guys, because
Yeah.
of course the title of the music is "Fuck the Police," but if you read the lyrics, it was actually
Mhm.
telling a story about police brutality and the injustice of the justice system. So
Mhm. Yeah, it's actually really
and
well done.
it was really well done. It wasn't even your typical lyric. It was basically kind of like it was reenacting, almost like reenacting a
Mhm.
case
Yeah, because
or
it
a
was like they
scenario.
were prosecuting the police in
Yeah,
the
they
song.
were exactly, they were
Like they were
prosecuting.
making their case. It was like really creative and well done, and they took it very seriously. Like, um, you know, obviously people just remember the "fuck the police" part, like on a larger scale. But yeah, when you actually listen to it, it's really really well done, and they took it very seriously and had a lot of attention to detail in it.
Yeah, so I just thought that was it is unfortunate that we uh that I guess Black Americans don't think about that as culture, but I think more and more today, though, people are starting to kind of like give credit to those things, because it is important part of American culture. And yeah, it is. I hope that moving forward, there will be a more robust acknowledgement by the U.S. at large of the contributions of Black people to the development and culture of this country.
Yeah,
So,
no. Have you seen Straight Outta Compton, the movie?
the movie,
Yeah,
no.
it was like a
Wait,
2015 movie.
I don't think I don't think I've seen it.
It's good. I think you'd like it. It gives a good like synopsis of NWA and kind of how they got started. It's a real. I mean, people really really liked it. I don't know if it was definitely nominated for stuff, but it was. I don't watch a lot of movies, but I was like, this is a good movie, and it's just one of those movies that if it's on, like if I see it on TV, I would sit down and watch it. And I don't do that with a lot of movies. Um, but Ice Cube's son plays Ice Cube in it, and he's good. Like he was very important to him that he took it seriously, and he does it really well. And he's like an actor now. Like he acts in other stuff too. But um,
Ice
yeah, I
Cube's
think
son.
yeah, he's probably like late 20s or something like that. So, but yeah, it was really really good. And
I mean, isn't it interesting how Ice Cube today is also like this mogul? Take away his platinum plan.
yeah. Platinum Plan BI.
Yeah, but like he's not just that rapper. For it was like he was acting for a long time, and then it was producing
Yeah.
and I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
he's
his story is interesting. His story is interesting. He wasn't like he became an actor. He was in Boys in the Hood in like 1990, I guess, or 91, and he wasn't trying to act. And John Singleton, the director of the movie, the young John Singleton, was like, I think he just passed away actually. Sadly, I think that happened. But anyway, he was
yeah.
like, I need Ice Cube to be in this movie, and he like basically like begged Ice Cube to do it. And the first time Ice Cube got on set or something, he like was struggling, and he was like, "Dude, did you read the lines?" He was like, "Nah, I didn't even read it. I ain't even gonna lie, I didn't even read the scripts." Like, what guy? And so he was like, "Look, I'm gonna give you one more shot, but I need you to really like take it seriously." And then I guess he took it seriously from that point on, and he did really really well. And
The funny thing is, even John Singleton and Ice Cube, it's it's crazy how young they were. Like John
I
Singleton
know he was like,
was
what was he,
24.
20? Damn.
Like it
Yeah.
was it was 24 when he was when it was actually, maybe he was even younger, but at 24 was when he was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Director for Boys in the Hood. So they probably
Wow.
did that when it was 22 or 23. That
Yeah,
is
no, that's
crazy,
true. That's
man.
insane. Yeah.
God,
Yeah, no,
that is
that's crazy.
crazy.
And what was an Ice Cube? What was he? I mean, he was probably a baby
Yeah,
too. I
I
mean,
feel.
he was
Yeah,
like 20, early 20, both early 20s, barely in their 20s. And yeah, you think of stuff, but then that reminds me of Ryan Coogler, the guy who did Black Panther, directed Black Panther, and
Mhm.
a bunch of other stuff. I mean, he's not as young, but he's still. I mean, I don't think he's definitely in his 30s, and I think when he did some of that stuff, he might have been late 20s. But I mean, like you think about how
Yeah,
big Black Panther. I mean, that's huge.
yeah. I mean, yeah, man. Those guys, they were trailblazers. Like, I remember, I used to talk to my, like, friends I grew up with in Nigeria and all of that, about how it was crazy. Some of the presidents, like the military folks that we had that ruled Nigeria, a lot of them were like in their 30s, like when they were fighting the
Hmm.
British and all of that stuff. We were like, and we were here, like we were crying about dumb shit. Like these
Yep.
people they were like plotting how to overthrow the British. To
Right.
gain-
Exactly.
like, these people were like, trying to like gain independence and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
man.
I mean, you think of people in the civil rights movement. It's not like they were old. A lot of them were like teenagers in their 20s. Like think of John Lewis. Um, a lot of this stuff, comes from younger generations. Even the protests now. It's not like these people are, old. It's not the people who are currently in power. It's not fucking Biden's contemporaries or something. It's the
I tell people
college
this.
kids.
I tell people this. MLK was murdered when he was 39.
Yeah.
Like, people, you would think this guy was like, he already did two, multiple lifetimes of work. He was only 39. Like,
Yeah.
like, what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy, right? I mean, I'm like,
Yeah.
so for him to be so consequential by that age, like his body of work,
Yeah.
he's been doing this shit. See, like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
he,
Yeah. He was young.
like,
He was
yeah. So
probably
he
like
was born in
25 when
1929. He was born in 1920. He was born in 1929. By 1934, he was already going on trips to Tunisia, Egypt, Jerusalem. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, he was not that old at all. In fact, he is barely younger. I'm sorry, he's just a year older than my grandmother. Um, and he's younger than my grandfather.
man,
By like my grandfather was born in 1922. So he's 7 years younger. He would have been 7 years younger than my grandfather. So, people act like this was like that long ago or that he was that old. Like it wasn't that long ago. He didn't live that long. If he was still alive, he would be really, really, he would be old, but it's not like it's inconceivable that he would be alive. He'd be like what, 91 or something like that.
Mhm.
So, oh, you know what else I saw? Ruby Bridges, the little girl who desegregated schools in New Orleans and then had to get the
Yeah.
National Guard. Her
Mhm.
mom just died. Like just died. Her mom, not her. Her mom. Like her mother just died. Just died like yesterday, like a week ago. So this stuff is like, I mean, Ruby Bridges is alive and kicking. She's like barely older than my mom. She's definitely younger than my dad. I don't even have to look that up. I know she's younger than my dad. Sorry, Dad, you be
Yeah, she's
but
only 66.
yeah, my dad's 73, gonna be 74. So my mom's 61. So yeah, no, she's but her mom just died.
Yeah,
That
like
that's
last
wild.
week.
Yeah, I was listening to like a video that she made where she described her experience as a little girl, and I was like, good Lord, that's just so wildly insane. Like, I knew about it, but just hearing it from the perspective of the little girl who was there, it's wild that that happened. Like, that she didn't even know what was really going on. She was like, she thought it was Mardi Gras. She was like, why are all these people outside? Like, what is going on? Yeah. Yeah. And it's not like these people didn't just go away. They didn't disappear. You know, these people had kids, and they, you know, the people who were outside yelling at her, you know, they didn't just disappear. Like, you know what I mean? Those attitudes and those thoughts didn't just like shrivel up into the sky. They had kids. They told their kids things, and you know what I mean? Like, people have obviously evolved since then, but have they? You know what I mean? Like, have they? You know, some of those people are still alive. Like, they're still actually here.
Are we sure they've evolved? But I mean, I guess it depends on what we're talking about. Evolved how? Like, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, there is a way for, you know, Homo sapiens to evolve to Neanderthals. Like, we typically think,
yeah, I guess you can devolve. Is it called devolve? Can you who knows what happened? But all I know is those people didn't just go away. You know, so and that wasn't, you know, that's the funny thing too, is like, just because you saw those people there, that's just a tiny portion of everyone who thought that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like that was everyone. Like, it's just that there were plenty of people who were like, I don't feel like getting up early today. I feel that way, but I'm not going to go all the way down. Like, people were celebrating that Biden won in Philadelphia. I wasn't out in the streets celebrating, but I was excited, you know? So you just see a small snippet of a larger group of people who think a certain way, who are very much against it. So I don't know, but that was wild. It's a wild country, but we'd be I haven't really been paying attention to the news otherwise, but
I haven't either. I mean, there was this police officer in Detroit that was fired, who I believe, like, it was some sort of a carving of some watermelon and Kamala Harris or something like that.
What? Oh Lord. How could you be that racist? Like, it's just that's funny. That's just comical at that point. Anyway,
actually, let me. Yeah, this person said, I worked hard in my law enforcement career, and I'm proud of the reputation I earned in my 30+ years of service. I'm not a racist and never will be. That person, I'm like, yeah, sure. You're not a racist.
Like, maybe we need to redefine what race. Like, maybe we need to make sure everyone's on the same page of what racism is, because people have no idea what they're talking. I'm not a racist and never have been, but then he like made Kamala Harris look like a monkey with watermelon or something. Like, I'm pretty sure that's the exact definition of racism. So maybe you're thinking of something else. Like, maybe you're not a magician. Maybe he's confused words. It's like, oh, I thought that a racist pulled a rabbit out of the hat. No, that's a magician. So you're not a magician, but you are very much a racist.
The question that I think a lot of people typically wonder is whether, if you're black, you can be racist, not to white people, but to, say, for instance, like to black people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like,
yeah,
if you're black and you have a certain ideology, like if I'm black, I mean, I'm black and I believe that black people are inferior, even though I'm black. Like, we got to defer to white people because they know best.
Right. Which there are black people who think like that.
Yeah.
Black people internalize racism the same way white people internalize racism. It's not any different.
And that's why you know, when you have, it seems like when people talk about, oh, I have a black friend or whatever, it's like, sure, whatever. Like, it's not even about whether you have a black friend or not. Like, racism is not, it's agnostic of color. Like, if I believe that, I could be black and believe that I'm inferior, like that's, and then treat other black people and be the catalyst to maintain the institution of of white supremacy. Like I can be black and be part of um that, part of that structure that wants to maintain white supremacy. So
Hmm.
I'm not different from a white person just because I'm black.
Right. You're like, you take your Candace Owens of the world or whatever. It's like, I mean, she's so racist against black people. She's a black person herself. And, she'll tell you she doesn't think she's inferior and that maybe just certain black people are. But I think she's internalized that too, but she won't admit it. But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's just it doesn't matter what color you are. And it's something that black people have to fight, all the time. I mean, it's like when we're fighting white supremacy, like I'm fighting it too. I'm fighting to make sure I don't internalize certain things about myself as a black person, right? And so I'm constantly fighting to make sure, I don't buy into that stuff. It's just more detrimental to me because I'm actually a black person.
Yeah, I mean, what people forget is black people, we are also of this society, and we consume everything, like, from media and all that stuff. So I mean, talk about even when they sample like black kids or survey them at a young age, like by the time they are 2 or 3, they understand there's color, and they're already talking about brown or black colors are uglier. I mean,
Hmm.
it,
Yeah.
no, nobody really told them that explicitly, but
Right.
it's not like somebody came and said black is but this society has conditioned you to just
Hmm.
accept and internalize, and you know that you're black, you're brown, and yeah, no, it's just
Yeah, no, it's so true. I remember my sisters when they were growing up, they when they were around like 9 or 10, they would get their hair straightened. Um, and they had been doing they would just do that ever since, they were in their 20s now. And one's 30. And I remember like having a conversation a couple of years ago, and I was just like, I was pushing, not pushing for, but just like advocate, like, I don't understand what's wrong with your natural hair. Like, what's wrong with any black person's natural hair? And, I remember at the time they were like, no, I would never just wear my natural hair. And I was like, it's kind of similar to when black men used to straighten their hair in like the 40s and stuff. Like, at one point, we finally just like, we're just going to wear our hair the way it fucking grows out of our head. And then we
yeah.
did, and that would look ridiculous if all black men straighten their hair now, right? But that used to be it was in fashion to do, and of course some black men will do it, but it's just, like Snoop Dogg might straighten his hair or something, but it's just more, that's not because he's trying to be white. But like, it used to just be like that was a thing people did, and I was like, I feel like one day with black women it's going to be the same thing. Like, why would I not just have my hair, you know? Not that I have to have it a certain way, but like, why would that be an inferior way to just have it grow out of my head the way it grows out of my head?
I mean, I feel like it's already like that with black women, though. Like, yeah, like I would say the majority of black women that I see today do not straighten their hair. Like, I think
It's
I'm trying to.
changed though, because it
That's what.
didn't in my lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. It
Definitely
is.
not
I'm
like
talking
that.
about today.
Yeah, today
Today.
it's definitely gotten a lot better. But this was like 5, 6 years ago, and
Yeah.
now they wear their hair. Not all of them. Like, I think one of them doesn't, but at least two wear their hair naturally, and they're like, "What the fuck was I doing?" Like, they're just like, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, it is, but that's something that's so conditioned where you wouldn't even think to wear it differently. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you'd be like, nah, I'm just gonna keep doing what I've been doing. But it's like those Eurocentric standards of beauty that just doesn't make any sense. Why would you? What? It's your hair. Like, why would you? Not to say that if you want to switch it up and change and style it, that's fine. But like, to act like it's an inferior option is just, you know, purely white supremacy and like Eurocentric standards of beauty and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought, when people think about afros, especially on women, they will always think about, just people like Asata Shakur and Angela Davis, and the, the members of the Black Panther Party, and and those kinds of people. And it's funny. I wonder. Probably it is that image that white America think of when they see you as like, oh my god, especially older folks. Like, what? This is Angela Davis coming. Like, what she's gonna she's gonna
Mhm.
put me in a headlock or what? So,
Right. Yeah.
um, but yeah, like a ton of black women that I see today, I don't even really remember. At least people that I see here in Houston,
Mhm.
I actually don't remember really seeing black women that straighten their hair anymore. I'm sure they're still there,
Right. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
they're in the minority now.
Yeah.
Which which I mean, and it's interesting how a whole universe of economic opportunities have come out of that. Like now, a ton of hair products. Wasn't it amazing? Like you now have these white companies, like beauty companies, that were like, "Oh, wait a minute, we could make a ton of money making hair products for black women with natural hair," and that's now a big thing
Mhm.
on that side. It's just like the same way when they had the Black Panther and they were like, "Oh, Marvel, wait a minute, if we make um a movie for black people, they will actually go watch, and it will be one of the highest grossing movies in the history of time."
Yeah. Isn't that hilarious? Really think about that though. We lived in a time where we had to have the first black superhero. That's a ridiculous thing to think about, that there wasn't one before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How did that
It-
not exist before now? Like literally 2 years ago, Black Panther dropped. But before that, there were no black superheroes. Like things like that are part of this whole societal conditioning, right? Where it's just like, why can't, you know, why can't the superhero be black? But it's not even a real,
yeah,
this
the
is a
only the
fake
only
person.
superhero.
This isn't a real person. We couldn't even
The
imagine
only
a
the,
black
the only
superhero. All we had was what?
And the
Who do
funny
we?
thing was I think when it was announced that they're gonna have that, there were a ton of people that were upset. Like, wait a minute, like a superhero is always white. Like, it
Oh my
can't be black.
god! Just like when Megyn Kelly started screaming because someone suggested that Santa Claus be black. Do you
Oh
remember
my
that?
god, yeah,
I
I
was like,
remember that.
he's not. Not spoiler alert, and for anyone who's listening, he's not actually real. So I think it doesn't matter what color he is, but yeah, I mean, even growing up as a kid, I thought Santa Claus was white. My parents did a good job with like having black. Like for Christmas time, we would have like black angels and like black figurines, and I think we probably even had maybe a black Santa, but it was still like, that nigga ain't Santa Claus. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was just but yeah, I mean, as a kid, you thought Santa Claus was white, God was white. I would just imagine as a white man, um, because that's just what society told me. And you're so impressionable.
Yeah, man, it's a long fight to go. It's a long way to go. Um,
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get there.
Oh
Well,
man, that's hilarious.
well, all right, man. Who knows, Amalita? She be alright.
Well, tell her I said hi.
Yeah, I will. You guys just staying put for the holidays?
Yeah, we're just gonna